Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review, and in this video I'm going to review Diner Coffee by Mamaleek. This is the brand new album of the experimental and avant-garde metal project Mamaleek, who have been going around for quite a lot of years, and they end up fusing a lot of different sounds together, making for some results that certainly do them one of the most eclectic and one of the most unique projects that you can find out there. Especially when it comes to some more metal stuff, Mamaleek are without a doubt one of the most refreshing projects out there, and they seem to get a bit of a more popularity with the release of the album Come and See, an album that certainly showcased the duo going for many different directions with their sound, fusing elements of like jazz with avant-garde metal, with rock, and just being a really weird mix of sounds all around. It was certainly a pretty unique album. You don't usually hear stuff like this. However, for me it was chaotic to a point where it didn't really stand out that much. It was an album that I enjoyed and I do admire what it was going for, but beyond that I didn't really find the ideas to be that much exceptional. With a brand new album over here, we see Mamaleek going once again into a bit of a different direction, having a bit of a more focus to their more jazzy elements and creating an album that feels sort of more laid back and kinda more straightforward. This is an album that you wouldn't even categorize it that much as a metal project. It has metal portions here and there with some of the instrumentation and some of the intense and harsh vocals, but beyond that the album mostly goes into experimental rock directions. But obviously, as you can expect, we're talking about a pretty unique experience over here. It's most likely that you haven't heard anything that sounds that much similar to this in this year. You rarely find albums that sound like this, and in my opinion, with this particular case, we also get a much better execution. An album that sounds having a much greater sense of direction. It is also pretty short, and it helps that we basically get some lengthy tracks that are created in a way where they would go into multiple different directions. The tracks don't really stay into one idea, but I also like how even if some of the parts might sound convoluted, they are tied together and connected in a really nice way, making for a more cohesive experience. So the album starts with a pretty unsettling tone with introduction, and then we get the track Boiler Room, which for me it is an exceptional song. It is really well crafted, really well done, and it goes into multiple different phases. In its 6.5 minute mark, it changes and goes into many different directions, having certain parts that would sound more chill and having this more smooth jazz tone, and then it would instantly transition to some really hard-hitting and intense parts that are really slow, really heavy, with powerful instrumentation, quite nice production, and having a bit of a more haunting presence to them, especially when it comes towards the end of the song. Some of the melodies provided end up feeling much more dark, and also the vocals sound legitimately disturbing. They create a quite unsettling tone, and the overall song is really intriguing. No matter how you feel about it, it instantly grabs your attention, because it's something different, it's something unique, it's something refreshing. Boiler Room especially is an excellent track in its execution. Then the very next track, Bad Timers, seems to go in a bit of a more chill note, focusing a bit more into the jazzy elements and not really having that much of the more intense parts that we got with the previous song, which for me it's fine, as some of the ideas still end up being quite cool and having some really nice elements to it, but in its 7-minute runtime there could have been a bit more to it, something that would make the track feel a bit less monotone, because there is not that much of a rapid development over here, but this is still a pretty decent moment. Then after another pretty decent interlude, we get into the track Grief and the Headhunter's Rage, which for me is the other big highlight out of the album. This track starts a bit slow, it takes a while till it picks up, but when it picks up, it makes for a really solid moment. It is powerful, it is dynamic, it sounds really dark, and the overall instrumentation nicely develops from smooth portions to others that sound much more intense. And yeah, this is another track that sounds pretty solid in my opinion, but then unfortunately after this point I believe that with the final two songs the album kinda drags down a little bit and not really providing some of its best ideas. Even though we're talking about a pretty short album, some of the main ideas and focuses ended up feeling kinda predictable. So yeah, I was obviously hoping for this album to be strong and consistent from start to finish. However, I feel that War for Rats in the Moonlight, even though it is a teaser track, at this point in the album it wasn't really all that engaging. I believe that the ideas are fine and there are still some pretty cool elements when it comes to the instrumentation and how diverse and varied of a song it is. However, it's at this point to the album where it doesn't really bring something that much more or something that much new or different, and even in its idea is not that much memorable in comparison to what we get with the entirety of the previous album. So for me, this track ended up feeling kinda underwhelming and slightly disappointing. And I would also say that it's kind of the same case with the final track Diner Coffee. Although this one for me makes for a better moment, it feels quite nice as a conclusion, like the way it ends with the final minute. I feel that it's a pretty nice and appropriate way on finishing the album on that note, and there are certain parts over here that sound excellent. However, once again, the idea, it's just kinda okay, and having listened to what the album had to offer beforehand, I don't really believe that there's something particularly exceptional about what this track does. So the thing with this album is that it's kinda hard to describe it. It's quite experimental, it's quite out there with its ideas, its structures, its experimentations. It's more of an album that you have to perceive as a listener, because just me describing it is not an easy task and it's not gonna provide all that much. I personally find this to be one of the most unique and one of the most exceptional albums that you can listen to this year. This is most likely going to be unlike anything else that you've heard in 2022. So for me, being an album that had such a strong introduction and having some excellent moments throughout, it is a bit of a shame that with the final two songs, the album kinda drags down a bit and it doesn't really provide an album that I would personally see myself ranking even higher. It's still though a pretty solid work from Mamaleek and a direction that I'm really digging. Definitely check this one out if the combination of experimental rock, jazz rock and avant-garde metal is something that sounds to be to your liking. I'm gonna give Diner Coffee a 7+ out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why? And what you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.